My name is Terry Hawk. I'm Superintendent of Schools. We have developed attendance centers. As you know, Anchor Pointe is being developed right now. It is on schedule, and so we plan to move into that building this July, and thus we have to have some students that go into that building. Therefore, we have devised and developed some elementary attendance center boundaries. It's pretty easy to look at this point in time that that elementary is on the the west side of the district. Therefore, it will affect Pine Creek. So, let's take a look at some of the things we have. We are looking right now at really 4 goals when we look at elementary attendance center boundaries. And we try to determine the boundaries based on these goals. Stability, proximity to school, availability of space, and equity in class size. Now, when I say that last one, everybody thinks small school size, or good, we're opening up a new building, that means class size will get smaller. That's not necessarily the case. You do have some inequitable situations. It never fails that if we have one neighborhood, they seem to have a lot of 3rd graders, and the other neighborhood has a lot of 2nd graders. Can't tell you why. There's no science to that. But there is difference in size. So it's not going to be smaller class size, but we do take a look at those things. And the bottom note is socioeconomic status and ethical makeup are considered but not given the same priorities as the other. These are our boundaries at this point in time. Colored map, you can see the yellow. Bennington Elementary is far bigger geographically than the other 2. Heritage sits out there to the west, to the east, and then Bennington or Pine Creek Elementary is the smallest geographically, but yet has quite a number of residential homes. Here on the side, 587. This was as of the first day in October. 428 in Heritage and 520 in Pine Creek. Bennington Elementary is made up of these subdivisions and rural areas. A little bit about this right now. So, you have 57 students. Let's take a different one. Let's take Hanover Falls. Right here, Hanover Falls. We have 244 lots. Okay? There is actually 244 homes in that area right now. We have 105 elementary kids that are coming to a elementary in the school district. That means we have 43 out of 100 homes have an elementary student in them. And because it's full, we project 105 students. That's pretty easy to determine. Let's take Newport Landing. Currently has 27 elementary students in there. For a 15 or 16%, 16 out of 100 homes have an elementary student. When filled, all lots have a home on it. It'll be 42 elementary students at this number. Okay? So you can see the subdivisions, the homes that are in Bennington Elementary at this point in time. We take a look at Heritage. Heritage, 428. You can see the percentages, Meadow Ridge, North and South, 34%. But you look bigger, Heritage, 54% at this point in time. Those are factored in as we look at boundaries down the road. And Pine Creek. These are the subdivisions that make up Pine Creek at this point in time. Pine Creek, 256 students, or a 57%. Now I will tell you, Anchor Pointe down there has 10 students. And you see that it has the same 57%. Well, it does not have enough students, in my estimation, to give it a true percentage. So what we're factoring at this point in time for Anchor Pointe is it's very similar to Pine Creek. It will have an elementary in the neighborhood. What we see in Pine Creek is that there are a lot of students that walk, a lot of students that ride bikes. It does cut down on the traffic. The house is very similar. the size, the neighborhood, things like that. So we simply slid the 57% down to Anchor Pointe when we look at capacity. Whether this holds true or not 10 years from now, that's a crystal ball that's very, very difficult to project, but that's what we've done at this point in time. So, as you can see, almost 1,000 students projected for the Pine Creek area. If we take a look at neighborhoods as they age, okay, we take a look at Pine Creek. 2008, before Pine Creek opened in 2009, 29 out of 100 homes had an elementary student attending Bennington Public Schools. But look, 2 to 3 years after it opened, almost 70%. But then look as it is aged. It is starting to decline. All right? So, that percentage that I put there, there's no science out there that says 5 years, 10 years from now, this is what we're looking at. But we try to look at those projections as we take a look at elementary boundaries. Interesting one right here, Meadow Ridge North and South. Meadow Ridge North and South had 20% in 2008, but if you take a look at the last 5 to 6 years, identical. It has stayed the same. Even though Meadow Ridge North and South has somewhat changed, it was a starter home. Now people are buying them as starter homes, but sometimes as investments because they may turn into rental. But the elementary age student has stayed the same. So we take a look at those things as we go forward. Stratford Park. Stratford Park didn't have enough homes in it in 2008 to really give it a true indication. I believe in 2008 Stratford Park had 21 homes. There were several years between 8 and 11 where Stratford Park was gaining 7, gaining 15, gaining 10 homes. Last year, Stratford Park gained 73 homes. I went and I counted here in the latter part of October. Stratford Park already has an additional 55 homes. And so those neighborhoods change. And what do we see in Stratford Park? It is increasing in the number of elementary students per household. Right? That factors into what we look at down the road. Capacity. One of the things that we looked at, how many students can we put into a building? Well, we have here at Pine Creek 21 regular ed or general education classrooms. Now, we factor in a couple of things. Right now we have an average of 21 per teacher. Right at it, 20.9. Yes, you probably have a class of 23 to 26 somewhere. But that's balanced with a class of 19 down to 17 somewhere. So we have an average of 21. We don't like to go much past 23, and thus we put a number as a capacity of 23. The architects build a capacity of 25 per classroom. Right? So there's many different capacities if you want to look at it that way. Capacity, we say, is 23 students per classroom, 21 classrooms in Heritage and Pine Creek. Anchor Pointe is very similar at 21. Why is Bennington Elementary 24 today? Will be 21. Because right north of the district office is the old 1940 gym. We remodeled that in 2005 to be 3 kindergarten classrooms. That, in the bond issue, is to be demolished, and a 2-story structure in place of it for a district office. That's what the bond issue called for. So, we cannot do that now because we need that space, but as we go into Anchor Pointe, those 3 classrooms will be taken out, and it will have the same capacity as the other 3 moving down the road. Do we put more than 483? Yes, we do. In this case right here, we can take this room, that is a technology room, make it a classroom. We can take the art room, make it a classroom. We can take the music room, make it a classroom. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. but we have the ability to adjust as we move forward, and we have. That's capacity. Here are the new boundaries. Let's start with Heritage Elementary. Doesn't change. That's the easiest one at this point in time. Okay? Heritage Elementary, I will tell you, when we did Heritage Elementary boundary in 2012, this green piece right here was Heritage, and it was going to be another 800 homes, right? The developer, or the owner, sold that to the Prairie. And therefore, what was a really good idea and what really looked good in 2012 for elementary boundaries has to be adjusted. And so, Heritage Elementary, it makes sense to go to Highway 36 all the way down to State Street and all the way over to the highway. That's the section of our school district. Let's go to Pine Creek, all right? This is what we're projecting for Pine Creek Attendance Center at this time. If Pine Creek was filled with the 57% that we have today, it would have 291 students. Today it has 256. Why do I have red and red 2020? I'm looking out 3 to 5 years, and I'm looking at that and I'm saying Highland Hills, and this is a projection, will have 250 out of the 492 homes added at that point in time. That's the pace I think it's going. When I look at Summerhill Farms, again, Summerhill Farms, if we are standing right here, Summerhill Farms is to my back, okay? 160 homes. Again, I had to project on Summerhill Farms. I projected the same as Pine Creek. There is enough homes in Highland Hills that it has a percentage. That percentage right now is 25%. 25 out of every 100 homes has an elementary student. That could change, okay? This could be adjusted. This is declining. This over here is staying fairly steady. So, as we look at that, we project in about 5 years, number of homes. The rest of these are filled, and we have 660 students. Obviously, as we continue to fill, that's going to be too many. We have to look at that down the road. But if we were to divide today, Pine Creek would go from 520 basically down to 420. Bennington Elementary. Bennington Elementary would still be geographically the largest in our school district. We take the rural area, we take the northwest, northeast, and southwest portion and keep it at Bennington Elementary. For the most part, it's filled. Again, a couple of subdivisions that are in progress as we move forward. And we look at Ridgewood, Shiloh Ranches, Woodlands Crossing, Newport Hill. All of those are very close to being filled at this point or are full at this point in time. We look at that, fairly steady. 358 or 353, excuse me, will climb to 428. But there is, as you can see, the purple are residential squares at this point in time, but there is a lot of white in that map. And that is land that is ag land at this point in time and can be developed into housing districts. So it is certainly one of the most open, one of the most advantageous to grow as we move forward. And then here is the new one, Anchor Pointe Elementary. Anchor Pointe, as you can see, has several new or developing subdivisions as we move forward. Okay? If we were to look today, and we were to take Anchor Pointe and at Christmas time move everybody, we're looking at 334 students. We see down the road, 2021, a projection of 524. And then you say, holy cow, Terry, you built a district with 1,000 or 1,200. What are you doing? All right? Okay, you can say that. All right? But here's what's happening. We have it there. Remember, this is Anchor Pointe right here. This is land that the school district owns for another elementary or a fifth elementary. So, we know through research that transition is difficult, all right? If you don't have to transition somebody out of the building, it's best, to try to create that stability. We're in a growing district. We are going to have to transition people. That's just the simple fact of it. So, why not try to take this opportunity and as we move forward, try to create as less transition as possible and look at this one and know that we have an elementary site in its boundaries moving forward. Okay? Again, we project in red the number of homes. The second column is projected based on the percentages today of the number of elementary students in those subdivisions. And as we use those percentages, what it would look like when all of those subdivisions, all of those lots have filled with a home. A couple of other things to keep in mind. This is the full map. You can see that Pine Creek is still geographically the smallest. But it has close to 1,500 residential homes in that small area. Transportation. Same policy as we've had for a decade. If we have busy roads, like 156th Street, we will transport across for the safety of students. If we look at Anchor Pointe, we also look at a neighboring subdivision right next to it that will be connected very quickly. That's Majestic Point. For Anchor Point and Majestic Point, we'll still provide transportation for high school and middle school, but we'll need to take a look at the roads to see if we have to provide transportation for all the students in Anchor Point or Majestic Point. As you can see, if I back up, okay, Stratford Park, Hanover Falls are in the new subdivision. And I'll even go as far as a new subdivision that is having trees and dirt work done in the last 2 weeks. And that's the one at the very top, Newport Vista. Newport Vista is right across from the middle school. Okay, and you say, holy cow, well they just have to go down the street to Bennington Elementary. So does a lot of traffic for middle school, so does a lot of traffic for the high school. So if eventually we believe Newport Vista will come down here, we're going to make traffic go this way as opposed to this way. And we think that will create some safety features, not always, but it will create less congestion down here at 156 and Bennington Road by making traffic go this way. Okay? So, we'll transport in those areas. Transfer. All right? Let me skip to this one. If you have a fourth grader today and you say, you know what, I hear what you're saying about transition. My son or daughter doesn't like that transition, doesn't do well in that transition. They have the ability to stay. All right? If you have a fourth grader and you have a first grader, and you say, okay, my fourth grader stays, well, it makes sense, my first grader stays too. No. The first grader would transfer to second grade and would be in that building for second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. That transition is different than just a 1 year and then they go to the middle school. So if you have a family that has a fourth grader and a first grader, you have a choice to make. Okay? You can allow the fourth grader to stay here at Pine Creek or in the other elementaries, but the first grader will be asked to go to Anchor Point if that's the case. Transportation will be yours at that point in time. Okay? So let's back up. If you have a student with anxiety, you have a student that has some documented concerns with the ability to move from one location to another. We have always had a policy in that regard that takes a look at that. We have the building principal take a look at it. We have other professionals take a look at it. And if there's medical, physical, or mental reasons for that child, then we have signed off and allowed that to happen. And so transfer policy. 1, fourth grade going to fifth grade. 2, any other medical conditions that go along with that. Okay? The timeline. We've already named a principal, Mr. Boyes to Anchor Pointe. We'll name the principal to Bennington Elementary probably within the month. We have the core team selected. December, the board heard this Monday this presentation. And they gave the blessing to go out, get information, come back, and they will vote formally in December. Certified staff assignments will be made no later than the mid-February. March, there will be information going out to parents, support staff in April, and then we have to start designing, PTOs, all the types of meetings to get you ready for the next year.